I'm basically recording this episode 1 year late, or, well, I mean, there's not even a rule about it, but I actually already turned 30 this year. So at the beginning of the year, even so, within 1 month of me recording this, I'm already going to be turning 31. Like, I cannot believe it. I still feel like, I don't know, it's weird to, like, once I turned 30, it just really felt weird because I still sometimes feel like I'm a teenager, not because I want to or something, but I just sometimes still feel immature. Or when I was young and looked at someone who was 30, they seemed so how do you say, like proper adults and all. And even though I have a kid now and all, it feels weird. It was a very weird change, especially after just becoming a mom, which also is something that I could have not imagined myself being and all. So lots of weird changes had happened, and I still feel like a little bit young and all, but that's not what I want to say. I don't want to start this episode going too much on a tangent, but I feel like now that I've been in my first year of my 30s, it's still okay to record an episode about lessons that I have learned during my 20s and talking about what helped me grow, and yeah, even maybe recapping quickly how I've grown, because I feel like how I've grown, especially in the last years of my 20s, are I'm like grateful that I did grow in that time, because otherwise this year would have been much different. And like basically that time prepared me for my 30s, even though again it's just a number and all. But yeah, I'm still grateful for all the changes and lessons that I learned in my 20s, so that now this year has become much better. And especially since being a mom, it helped me a lot. And even if you're not a mom, this episode is still going to be helpful. And I hope that by sharing those lessons, that they maybe inspire you to think about them. And yeah, maybe you can relate to something. And yeah, I feel like I made such big changes to who I am as a person, and have grown so much. And yeah, like not just when it comes to my relationship with food, where in the past I used to overeat, I used to eat emotionally, I was 10 kilos or a bit more heavier. And I just felt, yeah, wasn't able, to have that healthy lifestyle that I always desired. I always felt like it felt impossible for me, that I didn't have the willpower. And also, of course, this is one of the shifts that happened in my 20s, especially towards the end. Basically, all of this was especially towards the end. Also, when I think back at the beginning of my 20s, or my whole life before I developed in that way, I was very, very shy. I was very introverted. Like, I'm still introverted, but I was just very shy and had so had social anxiety. I was anxious to be around people, and I was sometimes even scared to talk to people. It's like I was super shy. Let it be there. And but luckily, I was able to overcome that. I really built some confidence, and I am sure about myself now, and I trust myself and all those sorts of things. And in the past, also, I often kept pushing things off, or didn't do certain things that I wanted to do, because I felt like, well, I'm not good enough anyways. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this or that. I don't deserve it, or whatever excuses there were. And I just had that low level of self worth, where now I know that I deserve the things that I want to do. And without all the things that I learned, the lessons that I'm going to share with you now, I would not even be here talking to you. I would have not started the podcast, not started the social media, and all of that. And of course, some self-confidence and believe in myself came by starting it. But of course, I also had to build a foundation to, first of all, even start. Like, if you would know me 5 years ago, I'm a completely different person now. And I'm super grateful that my past self managed to, yeah, grow and become the version that I am now. And sometimes I still think back and wish this would have happened sooner, because I believe, because of my low self-esteem, my low sense of self-worth and all that, I really missed out on a lot of things. Like, sometimes when I scroll on social media now, I feel like, oh, I wish like I would have had the confidence in the past, so that I would have done XYZ and all of that. But at least I got here now. So I'm especially grateful for that. I'm eternally grateful that I got to where I am, because really I used to be so shy, and I used to overthink everything. I used to not believe in myself whatsoever, and just, yeah, I would have loved to start this Instagram, or like this, all of this that I do now. way sooner when it was easier. But yeah, my internal world didn't allow me, but at least I got to where I am now. And I guess it's about time to now start with the first lesson or the first revelation that I have, or the first shift in my internal world that really helped me a lot. And this is learning about the importance of self love. In the past, I used to believe that, well, self love has to do with arrogance, or it's just the same as self care meant being selfish. I really believe that self love means you're arrogant, you love yourself so much, so you're arrogant and all of that. But actually, it's so much different. And I'm happy that I'm grateful that I went on that journey towards more self love, because self love is so important, and it's the foundation of how happy you feel in life, how fulfilled you feel in life, how you can create change. It's the foundation of becoming who you want to be. Without self love or accepting myself for who I am, I would be far from where I am now. I would still be stuck in that mentality that I had previous year. I had it in my teens, in my early 20s. And I truly thought that self love means you're arrogant. And I was always scared to be seen as arrogant or selfish, because I don't know, it's not good qualities to have, right? And was scared to be judged and all of that. So I kind of just, how do you say, like, diminish my self-worth. I made myself small, and I stayed shy and thought, yeah, by being quiet, maybe there's no reason for someone to attack me and all of that. But self-love is so important, because it is the foundation, and self-love has nothing to do with arrogance. Self-love means honoring yourself, honoring your needs, doing things you enjoy, going after what you want, being there for yourself and seeing your greatness, accepting yourself for who you are. Because again, we cannot change to what we were born into, but we can accept our circumstances, we can accept how we look and all of that, and we can maybe work from there. But hating ourselves, or yeah, having that low sense of self-worth is not helping us in any way. And I'm super grateful that I learned that and that I built that foundation, because truly embracing self love, honoring your needs, and accepting all of that, and going after what you want, and letting yourself be free and doing the things you want, no matter what anybody thinks, truly has nothing to do with being arrogant or what else you, if you relate to that, may think. When you love yourself, when you honor yourself and focus on what makes you feel good, and not always like try to please others and try to make yourself small, you will feel better. You feel at your best, and when you feel at your best, it will spill over. When you feel good by yourself, like if you trust in yourself, if you feel good in yourself, or if you just feel good about who you are and all of that, it will spill over. The way you act with other people, it's gonna be much more open, friendly, or whatever it is. It's much more, yeah, like you have that how do you say, that aura around you. People will feel it if you feel at your best. So it's like there's that ripple effect. By you being happy, it of course will maybe make people around you feel better as well. This lesson about self-love is pretty much the umbrella of everything that I'm talking about today, or of those 5 lessons that I'm sharing with you, because without this, I would have not learned anything else that I'm sharing with you, which leads me to the next lesson that I learned, or the next revelation, or the next thing that helped me grow, which is hearing the words, "You are who you say you are." I always used to think that I'm weird, and especially, for example, when I met someone new, I would already have in my head those thoughts about, oh, they must think I'm so weird. They must think like whatever negative quality I could think of that I am. But I wasn't those kind of things. But by me maybe thinking that I'm weird and being nervous about it, maybe then I acted kind of weird. So also I felt, more bad about myself. But if I would tell myself I'm good enough who I am, I'm confident enough for this, and all those sorts of things, it helps me show up in a different way. And this even helped me when it comes to my relationship with food, when it comes to my health journey and living a healthier lifestyle. If I would tell myself, well, I'm just a person who isn't made for that. I'm just not that kind of person. And what else? Well, I stayed who I was. I was not that kind of person. But if I would tell myself, well, I am that healthy version of myself. I am a person who takes care of her health. I am a person who has a healthy relationship with food. This then helped me with my actions. I didn't feel like, okay, doing this is just not who I am. It helped me build those habits that I wanted to build, whereas before I would think, yeah, well, I'm just not meant for that. And this is because the way you see yourself impacts your actions. So if you see yourself as a person that doesn't work out or that doesn't reach her goals, you subconsciously will act in those ways, and you will self sabotage, and you will have more thoughts that make you give up, that make you make more excuses and all of that. So you are truly who you say you are. So make sure to pay attention to how you talk to yourself and how you talk about yourself in your head, especially. And then luckily, I learned that comparison is not helpful. Well, at least if it's not done in a healthy way. Because, of course, if you compare yourself to someone that, let's say, in some kind of sport that you think is really good and it motivates you, it's not like a comparison that is talking you down and that it's so negative to you, but maybe more a comparison in a way that you wish you would be like that and it helps you, it drives you, it motivates you. That's a different kind of comparison. And that's, of course, helpful. But if you're like me, you may struggle with, or used to struggle, like I used to struggle with, or sometimes still, with a more negative kind of comparison. When you're using comparison, or when you compare yourself by diminishing your self worth, that's what I'm talking about under this lesson. And I already mentioned it already that I used to be very negative towards myself. And I would compare myself to others, how I'm not as good, I'm not as pretty, I'm not as fit, and whatever the comparison could be. And this made me feel worse and worse and worse about myself. This would make me believe more and more that I'm a person who is not fit, I'm not a pretty person, and whatever it is, right? So this comparison would then strengthen those negative beliefs that I had about myself. So it didn't help me in any way. So why we always do it? Of course, it's easier said than done to say, okay, just don't care what anybody thinks. Stop caring what other things. But it is super important that we stop caring about other people's opinions, that we stop comparing ourselves to others and worrying and what anybody would think, because it isn't helpful in any way. It keeps you down. It makes you feel bad about yourself. So if you catch yourself comparing yourself to someone else or talking so negatively towards yourself, about yourself, shift your focus and remind yourself that you are not as bad as you think you are. You're on your own journey, you're growing, you're getting better at things. And by at least trying to do whatever you want to do, you can be proud of yourself. You are growing, and comparing yourself often keeps us stuck. It keeps us in that internal paralysis, and it doesn't help us grow in any way. So we want to stop measuring our personal worth with someone else's accomplishments. And an important thing here, like for me, the comparison was especially on social media when you would see those fit girls or those people who just post their highlight reel and how perfect their life is and all of that. It would make myself feel bad about myself. But again, I realized that those people more often than not just show their highlight reels, and also how many people there, especially those fit, it was in the time of hashtag Fitspo, and those people, or like so many people online, maybe in reality don't even look that way. They are heavily edited. They edit how they look. And as I said, they just show their good parts of their life. And maybe someone looks super healthy and fit, but internally they're super unhappy or whatever it is. So you never really know. So especially comparing yourself to people on social media is super detrimental. I learned to shift my focus from external validation to internal satisfaction, internal validation. So I stopped wanting to please others. I stopped looking for that validation from someone else, that they would tell me how that I'm doing a good job, that I'm good and all of that. And I would start to shift that internally and see that no matter what I do, or at least if I take action, and at least if I do something that I want to do and grow and work on myself, that I can be proud of myself. So we want to shift from that need for external validation to an internal validation, from an external focus, from an external locus of control to an internal one. Because in the end, all that matters is your own opinion. All that matters is that you are proud of yourself, that you go do the things you want to do, that you try to improve on all of that. This is the most important thing because you are the one who has to live with yourself, no one else, right? You are with yourself 24/7. So we want to start making sure that we help ourselves and that we turn inwards. This means like focusing on your personal goals instead of other people's achievements, right? And a little tip here is to, whenever you catch yourself comparing yourself to someone else or focusing on, someone else, what they do, and like comparing to yourself to someone else, shift your thoughts onto your own recent achievements, onto something that you just accomplished recently. For sure, there is something, no matter what it is, no matter how small. Shift your focus on something that you did good, where you felt proud of yourself. This will help you in the moment. And the more you do it, the easier it gets to catch yourself. And actually, the more you do it, also, the less likely are you comparing yourself to others. Of course, it will slip up, but at least we're not going to stay in that negativity. Instead, we shift the focus back onto ourselves. And this also means understanding that everybody's journey is uniquely their own. Everybody is on a different journey, has different struggles and resources. So comparison is never going to help you because maybe someone, had it easier, but you have your own ways of doing and all of that. So I don't want to drag out this point too long. So let's move on to the next, which is embracing failure as a stepping stone, embracing mistakes as a way to grow. In my 20s, I also learned that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. In order to get to where we want to be, we have to make mistakes, we have to overcome obstacles. We are going to fail here and there, but learning from that is what is going to help us grow and move forward. But if we try to avoid mistakes and failures, we're never going to move forward. We are blocking ourselves. We are not taking action, which is actually the biggest failure in itself. For example, I used to be super scared of making mistakes. And especially if it was in front of someone else or if someone would see the mistakes, that I would avoid doing certain things. And now I regret it. That, again, it goes back to not starting the social media earlier or not starting something earlier because I was scared maybe that people would see that I don't get enough likes or that no one gonna like me and all of that. So usually that avoidance of making mistakes, that fear of making mistakes is what keeps us stuck, what doesn't allow us to grow or move forward. But luckily, with over time, and thanks to personal development, I learned that each setback, each struggle taught me more resilience, taught me something valuable, a new skill, a new mindset, or whatever it is. It opened new doors. And those things I would have not found if I would have not made those mistakes, if I would have not started in the first place. So it's basically about understanding that every no, every step, every struggle you have is directing you to something that is the right yes, is the right direction. And an important realization or reminder for now is that I really learned to see, or that we have to be realistic and realize that everybody who is good at something, who made it to somewhere, or maybe the people even you compare yourself to, started at the beginning. They started from zero. They're not just born into this world being a pro athlete or whatever it is. They made mistakes. They grew and they got better. They learned from the mistakes. And something like when it comes to pro athletes, someone I really think about now is Michael Jordan. If you haven't watched, I watched that documentary about him and the Chicago Bulls on Netflix like a couple years ago. It's super inspiring because he first not even made the team in his school in basketball, but then in summer he practiced and got better. And he's someone who really tried to grow and practice and get better at something, but he was not born that full-on person that he became in the end. So everybody starts from zero, and it's okay to make mistakes. And I mean, if someone would be already 50 levels ahead of you and would make fun of you for starting, I mean, that's a problem that they have. No, it's not a problem that you should have. Because truly, if you continue to avoid doing something because you're scared of making mistakes or be seen as a failure or whatever it is in your mind, you are already failing because you will never advance. You will never get there anyway. So at least you might as well try. And sometimes, we try things and we learn, okay, this is really not something for me. So we shift the focus to something else. And or direct you to another yes or the right yes, as I mentioned. And the last lesson that I want to share with you that I learned is truly that the perfect time doesn't exist, or if it does, or if anything like this exists, it's whenever you had that initial thought of doing something. What I mean by that is we often wait for the right time to start doing something, to take action. But in the end, there is no right time. We're never going to feel ready. The right time maybe was when you first had that idea, right? And another way to reframe this lesson is nothing happens without action. And most often, this mindset, this waiting for the perfect time, leads to regret. At least that's how it used to be for me. As I said in the beginning, I kind of regret that I didn't start certain things sooner, that I didn't have that sense of self-worth and that mindset earlier, so that I could have maybe done other things and go do things that I wish I would have done, but I didn't believe in myself. I didn't feel worthy and all of that. So more often than not, like waiting for the perfect time isn't gonna help. It's only gonna leave you with lots of regret. That's truly how it is with me. But I managed to learn from the regret, or I managed to, not turn that into a regret that makes me feel negative all the time. Like I learned my lessons, and I'm grateful that now I am where I am now. Could have been even later, right? So make sure to not push things off, to wait for the right time. Because truly, dreaming big is great. Dreaming about something is great, but without action, dreams stay dreams. And I learned that the hard way. And yes, it sounds kind of cheesy, without action, dreams stay dreams, but I still find it perfectly fitting. And it is linked to all the things that I told you until now, because often we push back on starting something because we don't feel ready or capable, especially like this is linked, for example, to avoiding to make mistakes. But ask yourself, how will you ever feel ready or capable if you never actually start doing something? Which is actually the only way to get better at something is taking action. So let us be an important reminder for you, even if you're not in your 20s anymore and you're listening to this, but maybe you can take something from this for your own future, no matter where you are in your life. The first half of my 20s, I really stayed stuck. I stayed self-loathing, wishing I was someone else, and it was only towards the end that I learned those lessons. And here again, I wish it would have done it sooner, but it is what it is, right? And at least now I can look back and be grateful that in the end I did learn them after all the things that I went through and all the stepping stones, mistakes that I make and grown from them and all of that. So I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself. So just remember that every small intentional step you take will build the road towards your goals. And whether it's career moves or personal development, action is what bridges thoughts and results, what brings you closer to where you want to be. So, yeah, this brings me to the end. I truly hope that by me sharing this, even though I feel like I did a lot of rambling or maybe a little bit of repetition, but it's kind of different lessons within. But as I said at the beginning, it's all under the umbrella of self love, developing, or the importance of having a good sense of self-worth. And I truly hope that you can take something from this at least. And if this resonated with you, please send me a message over on Instagram. Like this, share this, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, share it with others. Just anyway, any little thumbs up even is a great help for me and helping me grow, helping me help more people. So thank you so much for joining. Take care of yourself, be well, and until next week.